Go. How many times have you heard 3, 2, 1, go, right?
Yeah.
So welcome everybody. My name is Jennifer Morris. I am out of Goderich, Ontario, Canada, Canada's prettiest town. Although I think my colleague John Smay might argue that his hometown, Collingwood, is the prettiest. So we'll have a fight about that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, tonight we're super excited to have Willie the Cat, Villareal, and Amanda CrossFit Allen on our call, talking to us about nutrition technology, their life as a master's CrossFitter, and just some new stuff happening in this space. So just quickly to let you guys know, if you don't know me, I am a master's CrossFitter myself. I am getting old, getting up there in the 45 to 49 age category. I've actually hired Miss Amanda Allen over there to be my coach to help me move forward and hopefully get to the game so I can catch her one of these days. Although I'm wondering the programming she's giving me, I think she's trying to kill me, but we'll go there some other time. So that's my little introduction. And then I'll just let John introduce himself as well, and then we'll get to our special guests.
Hey everybody, John Smay, CrossFit Mosmo out of Collingwood, Ontario. My wife and I have been an affiliate now for 6 years, and we're about an hour and a half north of Toronto in a ski resort and summer destination. So we're on the south shore of one of the Great Lakes. We have freshwater lakes in our area between us and the US, and we're on the south shore of Lake Huron. It's called Georgian Bay. We have 7 miles of sandy beach and beautiful ski resort. There's no mountains here like you would find in Utah, Colorado, or even New York, believe it or not. But it's all we have, and we're happy to be here. CrossFit journey has been an exciting one. My wife and I actually met in the gym probably I think 15 years ago, training, but neither one of us were doing CrossFit at the time. And she checked it out first and came back and said to me, you know, you got to try this, you got to try this. And, you know, I walked in there with a lot of ego, and for the first 2 weeks crawled home like a little baby into bed and really got my butt handed to me. But it was then that I realized that I was going to create an opportunity for time management. And when I saw what was available for the community, I definitely fell in love. The fact that everybody supported each other and that I got an amazing workout in the hour. So I know I would like to get Willie to train me, but after seeing some of his training sessions, I think I need just a year or two of maybe 3 years of catch up even to get to his standard. So I'm turning 50, or I turned 50 this year. And my biggest challenge for me is just maintaining muscle and strength. And when I was 45, 46, I was solid. I had those 405 back squats. I finished, I think, in 2015, 33rd worldwide for my age group. And, I felt awesome. That year I snatched 220. And at the time, it was a pretty decent snatch, 5th in the world for a master. And but ever since then, it just seems like I'm just struggling to hang on to my strength. And so, obviously I'm looking around always for longevity, something to stay youthful, maintain my strength. And I don't want to give up. I don't want to roll over and just let it go. I want to keep going. I want my muscle and my libido and my life just to continue driving forward. So that's my story. And I'm super excited to have Willie and Amanda on. And I don't know, Jen, who you were going to queue up first.
I was going to ask Amanda, who's all the way from Byron Bay, Australia, to kind of give us a little background of yourself in sporting and CrossFit life, and just a few minutes just to let us know who you are.
I'll give that my best shot. Okay. Well, this is actually my baby Lobo next to me. So look, I never know where to start with my background. I'm a 2-time CrossFit Games Masters champion. I came in 3rd, I think, in 2015. I think I won 2013-14, came in 3rd in 2015. In 2016, I ran 1,000 kilometres for suicide and mental illness in the month of June. And I think that's like 700 and something miles for you guys. And And that year, 2 weeks after finishing that run, I came 19th at the CrossFit Games. So I tell you, running for 31 days straight is not a good preparation to win the CrossFit Games. Nonetheless, I still made it. I, have a history that I've spoken about very openly on social media with suicidal depression, and this Monday actually I'm 14 years sober, and that's been an incredible journey as well. And look, I'm 48 years of age and I have never been in better shape, and I mean that physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in my entire life. And I'm I've just at Christmas I was cut open the length of my torso and had 4 kilos of tumors removed from my my abdomen, my torso. That they were feared cancerous. It turned out it wasn't, but a very rare form of non-cancerous, so benign tumours. And I thought that was pretty much potentially the end of my CrossFit career, but certainly the end of 2018 for me. And basically within 3 months I had completed the CrossFit Open, the qualifiers, and I sit second in the world going into the CrossFit Games 2018. And honestly, I just every day I shake my head and know my life is a miracle. It really is. And but I've also worked for those miracles, and I know we're here to talk about ketones, and I tell you, they have been the icing on a cake that I've been building for a long time, but absolutely extraordinary. Like what I'm doing right now, it's not right. I didn't think I'd be CrossFitting for 6 months. That's what the doctors told me. And I didn't mention to them what I had been up to. But the writing's on the wall, and you take one look at me and my performances, and you know that I'm doing a lot of things right. And, that's why I'm here today. And that's why I'm still on the planet, I'm pretty sure, is because I want to let people know what's possible.
Awesome. Thank you. All right, Willie, your turn. Just let everyone know about you.
Are you kidding me right now? You're going to make me follow that up? No, as soon as he said, I'm going to let Amanda come on first, I'm like, great, I got to follow her up. She's awesome. So for all of y'all that don't know, I mean, whether Amanda knows it or not, she's a very, very, very well respected, very well known, even for people that, even if she doesn't know, there's a lot of people that know Amanda. And a lot of people that look up to Amanda. So she's a legend in the sport. A lot of people look up to her. So it's really, really hard to follow her up. So I have been, in CrossFit going on about 9 or 10 years ago. I was introduced to it. I was a collegiate athlete in the early 90s. And ever since then, nothing had kind of stoked my fire. I hadn't found anything that kind of really, got me, my competitive fire is burning, right? And a friend of mine asked me to come to a CrossFit, gym one day. And I thought, oh man, I'm in shape, and just like John, it's like, I got my butt handed to me for the first 2 months. So I fell in love with it, got very competitive, got on been to regionals a few times. In 2015, I always seek the guidance, just like John was saying, of somebody else. I want to be coached. I don't want to just rely on myself and feel like I know everything. So I sought out Dr. Darren Deaton from Dallas, Texas, and he helped me. He specializes in 40 Fit Masters. He actually has a very good podcast that I would highly recommend. It's called 40 Fit Radio, and it's he specializes in the 40 Fit athlete and how to stay healthy and how to stay strong and for longevity and health and wellness. So he trained me for that year, and that year at 2015, from 40 to 44, I was number 3 in the world after the Open. So everybody said right away, "Oh, we got you're going to the games. We got our tickets. We got our plane tickets. We rented a house. We're going to Carson." And so I said, "Oh man, I still got to do reason, but no pressure." So I started training a little bit harder than I should have. I'll never forget. I was snatching one day and I hurt my back. Went into regionals. Way less than 100%, and dropped from 3rd to 23rd. And as you know, the top 20 go to the games. So a couple of people dropped out. I ended up 21, still didn't make it. And ever since then, and a lot of people, even some of my close family doesn't know, I went into a depression pretty much for about the next 3 months. Anybody that has trained that hard two-a-days and really, you know, giving up time and freedom and family time, just different things. You know, it's a huge, you know, it took a lot. It took a huge toll. But anybody that's done that over the past year to prepare for something like that and then not make it, it was a huge hit. So for about 3 months afterwards, I was not fun to be around. But just kind of just worked on healing, got better, have just continued to work on strength and stayed healthy. And now I specialize in health wellness. I have a clinic and I do sports recovery. So I have on one whole side of my clinic, I do whole body cryotherapy, Normatec, PMO. I do all the little modalities that you know, try to keep our athletes healthy. On the other side, I specialize in kind of hormone therapy, overall wellness, nutritional and metabolic therapy, things like that. So that's kind of where I got introduced to ketones. About 6 or 7 years ago, I read a book called The Art and Science of Low Carb Performance by Dr. Jeff Volek, okay, Dr. Steve Finney, and that kind of introduced me to we've been taught forever that we got to carb up. We have to eat carbs. We have to eat carbs. You know, it opened me up to the possibility of being able to be a ketogenic or a fat adapted athlete. But I was doing it through diet. I was doing it the hard way, right? I was at a CrossFit competition and somebody walked up to me. We'll always joke about this. They walked up to me with no joke, a white powder and in a Ziploc baggie. And I kind of looked around and I was like, man, is this like legit? Like, you know, I was looking for, you know, I thought is this legal? You know, and they said, I said, what is this? And they said, it's ketones. And I said, man, you can't drink ketones. I said, you have to make your body make them. You know, I was one of those. I was skeptical. But here's the deal. Before I make a decision on anything, I like to try it out. I don't like to talk about something like many of these internet experts that talk about something without actually trying it. Okay. When I started looking into the science is there. The science is sound. I tried it. I tested my own blood ketones with it. It bumped my serum level, you know, from a 0.6 to a 1.8 in 30 minutes. I was sold. And that was the original version. So as we moved on, I started using it with more and more patients, and it started with my athletes, my healthy, you know, patients. And then I moved on to my diabetics, my Parkinson's patients, my epileptics. So it just spreads from there. Most of my patients that have metabolic issues, I take care of anybody from super sick, metabolic problems, you know, with diabetes, to my healthy guys with, you know, that they're performing at a top level. What I learned right away was that the same diet, the same nutrition that it takes to have the athletes performing at a very high level translates very, very well to somebody who wants to feel better. If you look around, half of the population feels like crap. I mean, anybody over 40, they're overweight, they're diabetic, they feel like crap, they're insulin resistant. You walk into any supermarket, you know, this isn't just a US thing, it's a pandemic, it's a global pandemic, okay? You know, diabetes, we're kind of at a tipping point as far as just the population's overall health. So as many of you have seen, that magic pill, that kind of opened a lot of people's eyes, kind of triggered some people, that's helped a lot. But ketones are the magic bridge to me. They're the they simplify the diet. They amplify the diet for me and my patients. So what they've done is they've actually simplified the diet. Here's the deal. The diet works. What I learned really quick, the diet is hard to maintain long-term because of birthday parties, you know, social interactions. It's always somebody's birthday or always something going on, right? A lot of these people feel...
Willie, maybe I'll ask, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I'm frozen.
Yeah, can you hear me? I can hear you.
We can hear you.
Oh, she paused and then she's out.
You're on.
There she goes.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, here you go.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Maybe what I'll do is kind of back up a little bit and ask Amanda or Willie. Maybe I'll get Amanda to kind of just tell us about your initial exposure to pure therapeutic ketones.
I want to hear Amanda. I'm here to hear her voice.
What you've experienced in terms of your performance, recovery. If you can give us a little insight into that, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Look, I was a little bit similar to Willie in that I'd heard about it from a friend for some time, maybe for a couple of months. She'd been pestering me about it. And can I swear? Because I just tried it because I wanted to shut her the fuck up, basically. So like, look, and also I'd had people asking me, what's with these ketones? And honestly, I'd said to people, look, I think it's just another one of these fads, you know, things come, they go, and we hear about them and they're all the rage and then they're gone and, you know, but a bit like Willie, in the end, because people were asking me and my friend was adamant, I was just like, you know, I just need to try this. I'm the university of my life, you know, like if I want to know what works and what doesn't, I must try it for myself. So, and I'm like that anyway. So I just started, and within 3 days, look, it was undeniable. And I was resistant. I didn't believe it. I was wondering on day 1, wondering on day 2. And by day 3, I was just like, shit. This stuff works. Like I have no cravings. I would always be craving sugar. Like I mean, my history with depression and alcoholism, you know, it really sets me up for being extremely vulnerable to bloody everything that's not good for you. So sugar is a huge one of those things. So if I started to eat some chocolate, I would eat the whole block, you know. As soon as I'm finished a meal, I want sweet things. And I've been a slave and a victim to that cycle forever. And within 3 days, I had none of that. But also what I discovered was like just this change in my mental function. Like I felt more stable, and like I found it almost impossible to believe within 3 days that I could feel like that. You take vitamin B, you take magnesium, you take any supplement off the shelf, you know, a vitamin that you know a naturopath will tell you to take, and I just have to believe them that I need them, that I'm deficient. But I couldn't tell you in a few days whether they were working for me or in any way, shape or form, not at all. And you know, suddenly it was transforming my existence within 3 days. And you know, it was undeniable. So that journey started very quietly, and still I was, you know, not 100%. It was very hard to believe that something could work so extraordinarily, and I really hadn't looked into ketones or understood ketogenic diet prior to that, because I come off a triathlon background as well, so we're like carb fiends. So you know, I'd always been about the carbs. But what's happened, and it's been, I would say I'm close to like 10 months now, that journey, it's like all of the benefits, like my depression, like I've come off antidepressants, and that was probably 3 months in. I started to, probably 2 months in, taking ketones, 1 sachet a day. I started to wean myself slowly off of my antidepressants, and I've had a history with them. I've worked with doctors before to come off them, so I knew what to do and what to look out for, and I just weaned very slowly and very gently. And what happened was now I feel none of that shadow of depression in me at all, ever. It's like, I mean, there's so much research. I'm not a scientific person, but I can tell you my own personal experience. And it's like my brain has rewired itself. Like that well-worn path, you know, like that well-worn path of depression in my mind, which is in my soul, which was like a path cut through like a bamboo jungle, right? Like it was gone. It was all closed over. And what had happened was with ketones and then the changes that made, like the food choices I was making naturally, not white knuckling, I had forged an entirely new path to an entirely new experience, a new destination through that same kind of jungle. So it's like all of that old sickness began to shut down. And like, you know what puppies are like when you wake up in the morning, like on ketones, that's what I'm like. You know, before taking ketones, I was like, you know, that, you know, you just can't wait to get your coffee and it's hard to get out of bed. And you don't mean to be like that, because I've been living, you know, my 1%, believing in every single 1%, you know, to do that in my life, to be well, because I never want to go back to alcoholism. I never want to go back to depression. And I want to be the best human being that I can, the best athlete that I can, and to perform and to recover like a beast. So I've always done everything I can, or at least the last 10 years. And ketones has taken all of that to an extraordinary level. It's given me this foundation that is, and that's what this last 8-9 months has been like, is like building a deeper and deeper foundation, a foundation of mental stability, emotional stability, none of those cravings. My food choices are the most natural thing in the world. They're, you know, like what hunter-gatherers would eat. That's what makes me feel good. You know, I don't go into the supermarket and have no resistance against those chocolates and lollies and sweet things that are waiting for you at the, you know, as you head out the counter. Like, I have no, I don't battle with any of that. And my recovery, like I'm never been older. I'm doing double days. I'm training the, you know, insane volume, and I feel extraordinary. People can't believe what I do, how I look, the energy I have. You know, you don't look 48, and I'm pretty sure it's just, you know, it's just a number. But like, and I was already working for that. Like, so I talk about 1%, but this 1%, this ketones, I feel like that adding it is like 1%. The actual action is 1% of my day, but it's given me the benefit of 20% of, you know, other things that I do. And, you know, I don't ever want to push it on anybody, because I know what I'm like when people push, but I want to be an example. I want somebody to go, I want what you have. Like, what do you do? And then they're inspired to try, and they find it their own way. And, it has been utterly transformative. And, you know, I hate to go on about it, because the more people go on about it, the more you sort of withdraw. But I'm now, I was just going to say, I've actually, since when I ended up in, because I was in emergency twice right before Christmas, within a week, with extraordinary pain and, you know, all of this stuff that led to this massive surgery. And from that time, I started taking 2 sachets a day, because I know basically ketones is like stress inoculation, right? And what greater stress could there possibly be than that massive surgery? And my recovery from that, and then getting back into CrossFit and finishing, like, I haven't finished second in the world for a few years now, you know, and that is off. Like, I could hardly move, but my recovery has been extraordinary. And I know just increasing that ketones a little bit made all the difference. And look, there is not a day in the rest of my life that I will be without these ketones in my system. And look, I also, it was just a little bit of what Willie was saying before, like, as a high training athlete, and being a little bit older as well, and I think female as well, it's really important for me to have carbs, right? Like, I've tried to be fully ketogenic in the past, and I die. I can't do it. But it's like, you know, you can, what is it? You can have your cake and eat it too. So on ketones, I can still say ketogenic, but I can still get that carb fuel into me to keep me performing and recovering. And I'm very mindful about where I have my carbs. Like, I have them right before, right after training. It's like, so appropriate carbs appropriately. With ketones in my body, I'm a fucking beast. A very happy one too.
Awesome. Thank you, Amanda. I'm just getting a question here from Coach Rob DeBoer. He's asking, what are each of your best practices? Like, when, I guess he's asking when you eat and
timing, I guess.
Yeah, meal timing and stuff like that.
It sounds like I pretty much do the same thing that Amanda's doing. It's cool to hear all that background, but that's what I hear. So in my practice, I think my goal in medicine is to get patients off meds. So I'm happy that she's getting off. There's so much information about, you know, what antidepressants are actually doing to patients. So that's awesome. I'm so good to hear that she weaned herself off. And that's what I'm seeing with ketones. It's been a really good tool to help patients with that. But now, as far as best practices, I do find that I can take in a little bit more carbs a little bit before. My go-to is UCAN Super Starch. UCAN Super Starch, I use it a lot because it will, it's a very slow burning carb that will take a while to it's especially hydrothermically cooked cornstarch that actually won't kick you out of, you know, lipolysis. Basically, it's a lot of ketogenic athletes actually take it, like Ironmans, things like that. So I'll take that as a long burning fuel source before. I always take ketones before training, no matter what. I don't care if it's 5 a.m. or if it's in the afternoon. I tend to always take BCAAs. I think BCAAs are super important. I don't know if he's asking specific supplements or best practices, but like there's certain supplements that I recommend with ketogenic diet, but with ketones, as far as just the ketones, I always make sure I take them before. I take a little bit after. I like the 3.0. Sometimes the recovery, just like Amanda said, I can push and push and push and push. and it's hard for me to get sore. Like, it is super, super hard. And like she's saying, as much as I want to tell everybody, my big thing is just, you know what, instead of talking about what it does for my strength, show a video of me front squatting 400 or something. Then they'll, then they can say, okay, but then they always have another reason. But seriously, it's literally just ketones. I am leaner and stronger than I've ever been with better recovery. Now, one thing we're finding out in the 40 plus athletes is that I want to be able to move when I'm 80, 90 years old. I want good joint mobility. I want my brain to be working. I want to be functioning well. Like I tell patients, my goal is to make you a healthy, active, vibrant 80, 90-year-old, not a bedridden 90-year-old. Ketones hits every single one of those points, whether it's the cognitive function, whether it's the joint mobility and inflammation, whether it's a recovery from training. We could go on and on and on about like the actual benefits that we're seeing from the ATP, recovery, which is your ATP is recovered a lot quicker. It's replenished a lot quicker with the ketones. When you're taking the ketones, you actually, it's just like she's saying, just like Amanda said, it's now you're a hybrid. I love it because you're saying you're like a hybrid car. I can pull from glucose or I can pull from ketones. You've never been able to do that before. Okay. Before it was an either or situation, always either or. You had to either be doing a ketogenic diet to make your body make ketones, or you had to be you're a sugar burner like almost everybody is. It's easy to be a sugar burner. You just got to take in some carbs. Now you can actually drink ketones and still, and here's the deal. It's blowing up people's mind. There's so many nutritionists that they can't wrap their head around, is it ketones or is it glucose? Does the body use one your body is metabolically flexible. Your body doesn't just choose one fuel source. There's certain tissues that will use ketones and some that'll just use glucose. They'll use whatever is available, whatever is easiest that's already in the metabolite. I mean, if you're taking in BHB and it's already metabolized, you're going to use that. It's going to use the easiest source available. Your body is an incredible machine. So it's not just one or the other. Even check this out. Even when you're not ketogenic, your body is using ketones and glucose anyway. So this whole notion about it's an either or situation, it's null. It doesn't matter. Now you're actually increasing the levels of your ketones. You're adding in like I love when Rob and I see eye to eye on this, as far as it is the most potent fuel source that we've ever seen. It's going to be up there on par with protein shakes, or I think eventually it'll be standard. It'll be a standard fuel if people would just be open to it. If they stop being so dogmatic about, it's one or the other. No, it's not. It's just a very, very potent fuel source. So, I mean, we could go on and on. We have talks and talks and talks about like the actual benefits, but Amanda hit on a lot of them, and she mirrors what I see with a lot of my athletes and a lot of my patients. So,
would you say, Amanda, Willie, so your actual diets while drinking ketones are not ketogenic? That's what you're saying?
Mine are. I'm pretty much keto. I, on a weekend, like to have like a nice acai bowl with some like blueberries, and I do have some, some fruits here or there. But I can jump back in very, very quickly, and I can check it with my literally, I have my blood stick monitor. I'll check it. But for the most part, like right now, I'm about to eat some brisket and with some bacon and sour cream, or ribs and vegetables.
What about you, Amanda? Are you mainly keto, or are you like more paleo, or?
Look, most of the year when I'm training, like at the moment, I've doubled my training. Okay, so suddenly I've doubled my volume. I'm doing double training days, 6 days of the week, and one big training day on 1 day of the week. So it's a fair volume for anybody, right? So suddenly what I've done is add in porridge, which is oats. I don't know if you know what porridge is, and rice, and I'll have a big bowl of mixed fruit at night as well. So that's a fair chunk of carbs back into my diet. But prior to that, just training throughout the normal year, I will just be meat and nuts and green veggies and green salad and a lot of fat. and I feel amazing. And I think that's the way I would prefer to live. But when I'm upping my volume with the goals that I have, I must have access to those carbs to recover, to perform, to have energy, to, you know, like, and you know, as Willie said earlier, it's like my body can cope with both sources of fuel, and I can still stay in a ketogenic state with ketones.
I can have 100 grams of carbs a day and stay in ketosis, and I can check that. And here's the deal: the difference is that, like Amanda said, she's earning her carbs. That's what most of the population doesn't do. Very few people are doing the training volume that Amanda does. Right. And to answer Coach Rob's question, Rob asked, you know, what's your go-to post-workout? I am still very, very big about getting a very good whey protein afterwards, but I like to put fat in it. Like I want an MCT powder or an MCT oil in it post. I just feel like that's my go-to. And if not, I'll put like the 3.0. I like putting that 3.0, especially in chocolate, just for a little bit of BCAAs and for recovery. So as far as my post-workout, my standard post-workout is a whey isolate, a grass-fed. It's a grass-fed whey that I like, and I'll put some MCT powder or MCT powder or MCT oil in it.
Cool. What would you guys say to sort of the average 40 to 50-year-old person who's, you know, heading to their local box 3 to 5 times a week? They just want to feel good, look good naked maybe. They want to just, you know, increase their longevity and be functional in their old age. They've kind of made that transition to go to the CrossFit gym. What would you say to them about drinking ketones and, you know, kind of some tips for them?
Yeah. All right. I'll take it, Willie. Look, I honestly, like, if they're doing a good hour class, 5 days a week, with a mostly sedentary kind of job, then, you know, for them, ketones is the perfect solution. And basically eating a ketogenic diet, except post-workout, you know, make sure that you're just getting some little bit of glucose into a post-workout shake with some good quality protein powder, like Willie was saying. And, you know, you don't need to chase carbs any more than that. You know, it's perfect. But I say get on the ketones, eat basically ketogenically, but not like 100%, you know, don't be mental about it, you know, 90% on, you know, like 10% human, or maybe 80%, you know, perfect, ketogenic, 20% human. You decide what works for you firstly, because the stress that you can create for yourself, trying to hold yourself to these ideals of perfection, is bullshit. You know, that will undo you, you know, you don't need that. So work out what's best for you, like what's livable, not hold on for dear life and then binge, just what's livable. But those carbs, like immediately post workout, and then, you know, forget about carbs. And honestly, once you're on ketones, like carbs and sugar and all that stuff, you're not craving it anymore. You're getting the fuel, the brain fuel, the you know, the recovery fuel you need all the time. Like your whole existence can be transformed, and your recovery, like, you know, I'm sure Willie will say something along similar lines.
Yeah, I basically, I start, when they say, what should you take? I say it depends. It always starts with
depends.
It depends. That's my first answer is it depends. It depends if that patient is or if that athlete is and I use them interchangeably, patients to athletes. If they have diabetes, if they have type 2 diabetes, if they're very insulin resistant, they have this. Then, you know, here's the problem: is that most people are taking in 700 to 900 grams of carbs a day. That's a fact. That's why paleo-ish is a good first step, because it's like 150 to 250 grams of carbs. All right. Then, you know, low carb is like less than 100. Then, you know, keto is less than 50. It depends. It depends so the best one is one that you can maintain long term. The first thing is go back to eating whole foods. Stop eating box crap. Stop eating refined foods, artificial foods, processed foods, crap. Okay. If we can get back to single ingredient foods, then that'd be best. One of my staff members came up to me and she says, was this healthy to eat? And it had a list this long of ingredients. And I said, if you can't, you know, pronounce one of those things in that ingredient list, don't eat it. And she says, she picked one out and then she couldn't pronounce it. I said, don't eat it. So it just all depends. As far as everybody's different, a lot of people, replete, have carbs right after to replete their glycogen stores. But here's the deal. If you really look at it, and if you really read like Jeff Volek's studies and things like that, a lot of people put a lot of emphasis on the glycogen depletion. The glycogen depletion really isn't as severe as people think. Okay. Even if you look at somebody like a 2 to 3 hour soccer game, you only deplete about 60 to 70% of your glycogen store. Okay. So in a 1 hour class, even a high trained athlete, even in the hardest workout, you're not going to deplete that much. So you really don't have that much to replete. A lot of the things the glucose you can replete. And this has been verified, in that faster study, after that 20-month study that Volek did, he showed where after a year, after you're very, very fat adapted, your body becomes very efficient at repleting its own glycogen from gluconeogenesis. And John and I talked about this from gluconeogenesis from the protein. If you have enough protein, your liver will make enough glucose to replete that glycogen store. Coach Rob asked me about the carbs. I don't do a lot of carbs right after, but it's just not what feels good to my body. I just do a good post-workout with fat, and then I eat a good meal afterwards. That meal, we'll have vegetables and things like that. I love salads, like Amanda's saying. I always have salad with tons of fat in it. I put my 143. That's the one thing about Prove It, and what I love about it is it's starting to become very, very supportive all the way around. So whether it's the 143 coconut oil, whether it's the Keto Calm tea that I take at night, whether it's the Signal OS, some of the things that are coming, it's going to be a well-rounded ketogenic support system. So anything we need, I don't know if y'all taste that Mayan Mocha. I had it for the first time this morning. I wasn't sure if I was going to like that cayenne. I loved it. I was really surprised. So
Willie, what we're trying to say is, fellas, if you want to have a happy life, make sure that you give your ladies a little bit of carbs. Otherwise, you're going to feel the brunt of that. Right? And we also we recognize through studies and publications and science that they are going to utilize a little bit more carbs than guys. And I find if we go strict keto, it's definitely an easier task for us to accommodate that or accomplish that. I know ladies have to be more sensitive, just based at that age group and hormones, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And then one more thing we don't talk about is hormonal health. The hormonal health, we do have to, like I do see, believe it or not, especially thyroid. You'll hear with way, way, way too much cutting of the carbs. There is a true thyroid effect that we do see. Now, whether it's transient sometimes their thyroid hormones, especially their T3, which is what we feel, our T3 is what we feel, drops sometimes, and sometimes it'll come back up. But sometimes when they go too hard, too fast on their ketogenic diet, if they cut carbs way too much, their thyroid will drop, and sometimes it's transient, it'll come back up. But that's a big.
I have one more question myself for both of you guys, and that is, Amanda, first, maybe, where do you see your future and, of course, the future of this conversation of ketones?
Good question.
So I'm not sure if I understand my future in terms of how I'm using ketones or with CrossFit or what's possible.
Yeah, exogenous ketone use. Like, where do you see that going? And is there any sign in your mind or thought in your mind that you're going to get to a point and stop? And then, of course, where do you see this conversation going in your own community and obviously, throughout our global community?
Yeah. Look, I intend to never come off of ketones. Like, from what I've experienced and where I've been in the past, there is no horizon in sight for me where I would not be taking ketones. And it is a fundamental part of my every single day, like every day, my every action, my every thought, my every deed, is structured in such a way to give me optimal health, like to optimal vitality, to for longevity, for, you know, anti-aging, for reduced inflammation, for being a badass. You know, that is what I'm on the planet to do. And I hope that my example speaks louder than any words I ever speak for the rest of the world. And people who are, you know, unfortunately, like, you get to around 40 and for some people even earlier, and you start to actually indulge in, you know, the excuse that I'm getting old. It's like, no, you're just getting, maybe you're a little too, maybe you're ignorant, maybe you're lazy, but let's call a spade a spade. Like, there is so much available to us to not indulge, but not even not indulge, but reverse and absolutely, like, I think almost deny the aging process. And ketones are fundamental to that for me, but also every single other 1% of everything I do. Like, no one thing is the magic bullet, but I tell you, this is a potent magic bullet. You know, and I just hope that over time, you know, as each of us have experienced, that our experience and our example flows on to others, you know, who are suffering, whatever that is, mental fog, you know, inflammation, you know, rapid experience of aging. Like, I mean, ketones, taking ketones is so anti-inflammatory, and really, like, the war against aging is the war against inflammation. And you know, I just want to be a living example of what's possible for others. And it's not possible just because I'm a freak. It's possible because I'm just putting 1% in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, doing all of the right things. So I hope that these conversations and conversations about ketogenic diets and the right carbs and taking ketones and staying fit and staying stimulated mentally, like that snowballs, and we see, instead of deterioration of, you know, people as we age, like this extraordinary shift, like absolute shift in what's possible and what is now our new you know, our new standard for aging. Like, and you know, we throw all these things around, oh, you know, 40 is the new 30, 50 is the new 30, whatever. Like, fuck, 70 is going to be the new 40 where we're headed. That's my vision for the future.
Amazing. Awesome.
Willie, what do you think?
Dang it, guys, y'all keep making me follow that up. That's like awesome. Oh, man. So here it is. This is what I say to patients every single day. Okay. Everybody, especially over the age of 40, needs to transition to a ketogenic lifestyle. Why?
Yeah.
Simply put, because after the age of 40, we become less and less and less efficient at using glucose properly. We just do. I mean, whether we're taking in carbs or not, we just do. Our cells get older. So our bodies never become less and less and less efficient at using ketones. Okay. Just like things like Alzheimer's, neurodegenerative diseases, things like that. We've seen that, you know, we've already established Alzheimer's is type 3 diabetes of the brain. It's the same mechanism of action as diabetes. It's a reduced glucose uptake and all. So the brain never becomes less efficient at using ketones. So as far as ketones, now there's a lot of people that have been doing the ketogenic diet, ketogenic lifestyle more strictly as they age, more for the cognitive resilience, okay, that's honestly my long-term goal is cognitive resilience. I want to be very, very sharp when I'm 80, 90, 100 years old, right? So, you know, that's where I see it going. It's going to be the easy addition to the lifestyle, to the diet. Now, I still preach to everybody. The majority of my patients coming in, they're just wanting to be healthy, wanting longevity, right? Now, if it's an athlete, then we go a totally different route, right? And I take that back. Not a totally different route. We use different supplements. There's different supplements that I add into the mix. Okay, whether it's, you know, if it's an athlete, it's creatine or HMB, you know, because it's a leucine, or you know, there's certain, you know, BCAAs, or there's certain specifics, right? Those have to be dialed in. But as far as the average person, they need to shift over to the ketogenic lifestyle, and then the ketones are the easiest add to maintain that level of ketosis. Period. I mean, it's just the simplest way to put it.
Cool.
Awesome, guys. Jen, what do you think?
I think it's amazing. I'm just so excited to, you know, be sharing the conversation, to have, you know, you and I are here locally doing our thing, and we're kind of our you know, we're the local heroes. These guys are more heroes on the worldwide stage. And I'm excited
we're the local front.
Yeah. And I'm excited to see Amanda compete at the games. I'm going to be going to Madison, and we have a teen athlete actually from a local gym going, so I'll be there. But yeah, I can't tell you guys like how grateful I am to be able to share this with you from, you know, all over the world. People are starting to catch on and understand the value that, and I love the way you put it, Willie, that, you know, it's, and Amanda too, you kind of like, it's not everything, but it's definitely a great foundation to sort of kickstart your health or bring yourself back to where you want to be and move forward in that direction towards better, whatever that better is for you as an individual. John, sorry.
I've just to add in real quick. The thing about it is just like Amanda said, I will never ever stop taking them. Just from what it's done for me, my family, my kids, patients. I like to talk. Brian Underwood talks about the ripple effect all the time. I literally, on an almost daily basis, see it. I hear about it from patients or friends of people from, on Facebook or on text messages, or friends of friends of friends that were introduced or heard me say something or heard me tell somebody to do something, about ketones. They got on them, and then all of a sudden their lives changed. So I've seen it change so many people's lives. Like Amanda, more, and the thing about it is that the community itself, the Prove It community itself, I just met John and Jennifer recently. I mean, we all jump on to help each other because everybody's very, very passionate about forwarding this conversation. And because, and we wouldn't be passionate about forwarding the conversation if we hadn't seen huge things from it.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, it's just, it is the future. It's going to change a lot of things, and it is not the magic thing, but it's one of the foundations that I use with a lot of patients, and that it gives you the most bang for your buck as far as overall hit and health.
Awesome.
Yeah. As far like Rob always says, it creates compliance, and it does, hands down.
Yeah.
And I know Amanda's touched on it, you really touched on it. And that was one of the first things that I realized right away on it, right? And for Amanda, it was 3 days. For me, it was 7 days. So 7 days in, I'd already done ketogenic diets before, and I was getting in a day 7 here, just watching what I was eating. And there was no cravings. There was nothing. It was all gone, right? So there is something behind that steady stream, that brain signaling molecule that it provides, where those cravings and they just disappear. So I think that's very, very exciting for everybody to kind of grasp, obviously, moving forward. And man, it's going to be exciting to see where this goes. Like I said, I think it's going to be more of a foundational tool for health protocols as opposed to an add-on, right? It's going to be the starting point as opposed to the finishing point. And so I'm excited to see that and, get everybody engaged on it. What about you, Jen? Anybody else?
Yeah, awesome. I think in the interest of time, it's almost 9 o'clock, so I don't want to make this call overly long. Plus my Zoom doesn't let me record for more than an hour. But I would just say, guys, if you're watching this video today, if you're joining in on the call and you have questions and you're local in Ontario or in Canada, please reach out to John Smay or myself. Our contact information, I'm going to post that. Also, if you're in Australia, you can contact Amanda. And down, Willie, I've completely forgotten what town you live in.
We're in a little town north of Houston. It's north of Houston, Texas.
Okay, yeah. Down south where it's hot right now, you can get in touch with Willie, and we're here to help you guys. And really, the reason that we're doing this call is because, like John said, like Willie said, like Amanda said, it's all about moving us forward to better. And my vision, and the reason that I drink ketones every single day, the reason that I talk about ketones to everybody I possibly can without being pushy, is because I want to change the world, because I've seen people's lives change to the point where they are bettering everything about what they're doing. And that ultimately, to me, is what this is all about. So whether you're a CrossFit athlete, whether you're 40 years old, whether you're sitting on the couch eating potato chips, get ketones in your body. That's all I'm going to say about that. Any closing words from anyone else?
I'm good.
Okay. Thank you so much, Willie, Amanda. I really appreciate it. I know you guys are busy people. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you, John, and I will be in touch with all of you soon. Make sure that you get in touch with us if you need anything.
Everybody follow Amanda.
See you guys.
CrossFit Games.
Yeah, Amanda. Go, Amanda.
Yay. Watch this space. Watch this space. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
See ya.